It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying,
Ghouls and trolls from across the internet. This is Mr. Coreyism.
And Jack Army.
And welcome to our second episode of the Graphic Novel Association. For today, we are going to be talking about the good aspects of
World building.
basically. So,
His favorite subject.
So, all right. What do you want to? So,
All right. First of all, I can't get the idea of Corkyism out of my head whenever you mention Coreyism. It's one of those magical and simplistic words that just make you all the bad feelings go away.
have we met? Because I seem to love inflicting pain on others. I mean, you know what? Fuck Coreyism. I mean, I'm not this magical fairy who grants all the wishes. Hello, I am Coreyism. Oh.
What is that? That an attempt at summoning a woman? I've heard a more convincing woman on Monty Python.
Oh, trust me. You don't want to see me when I actually try and act like a real woman. You turn gay. Trust me. I'm RuPaul, baby.
Okay, gotta get that out of my head. You know?
Corey is a motherfucker.
Are you sure I'm close enough to the mic, or?
Oh, trust me, it hears ya. It hears ya.
Okay.
And it hears everything. It hears your thoughts, too. Watch out, viewer. We might know what you're thinking. All right. Back on the subject. So, yeah, world building. For today, we're gonna be talking about our favorite aspects of it, and of course, next week we're gonna be talking about our least favorite aspects. So, this is gonna be a very positive episode. Oh.
I don't know. I always like the idea of making an episode positive and then making one negative so that people can basically pick and choose stuff. I'm all about that.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of people who choose to be all negative all the time in their videos, like people at Channel Awesome. By the way, fuck you, Channel Awesome. You suck. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Obscura Fupa deserves better than your punk ass.
He's still mad about them basically turning into corporate whores.
Obscura Fupa forever, motherfucker.
I'm more upset about Phaelus, because that guy was... I loved his meta humor.
Oh, yes. Phaelus is actually one of my favorite, and believe it or not, I've always seen that he has the makings of a really good storyteller, because you've noticed in a lot of his horror reviews, he always would make suggestions on how to make the story better.
Yeah, I like how he actually... I love it when reviewers actually add some stuff like, now, here's something, I would have actually loved this part, or, giving helpful stuff like that always works.
Yeah, totally. Oh, by the way, Phaelus, if you're hearing this, you need to make a horror movie. You have the makings of a horror master. Also, fuck you, Doug, and fuck you, CEO. Fuck you, Channel Awesome. Fuck you.
If Phaelus made a movie, it would probably be a less smug version of Cabin in the Woods.
I haven't thought about that.
And despite the fact that he's constantly meta, it probably would be, which is pretty sad.
And you know what? Speaking of world building, Cabin in the Woods, I actually thought that was pretty good.
I have not actually seen it, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it. And basically they're all... But I've heard one person say that the flaw of the movie is, yeah, a lot of it's built on twists, but once you see that movie, it loses the replay value.
That's actually pretty true. I mean, obviously you haven't seen it, so I won't spoil it for you.
All right, I want to keep the surprise to myself in case, I see it on a stream or someone basically just buys it from a bargain bin.
Oh, trust me, it's the magic of the movie if you see it for the first time.
Yes, magic.
Magic. Magic.
Okay.
All right.
You want to go? What should we talk about first? World building aspects, or just go on, or could we just start with our settings? Should we just start with the aspects first, and then go on to list good one good example of world building settings that you really like?
Well, okay, yeah, we can just talk about the aspects that we like. For me, the aspects of a good world building thing is potential action scenes. Really. I mean, you just got to know the good location. You got to know how the location could, set things up. For example, in, Jet Li's The One. Remember that movie?
I don't remember that. I never even heard about it, actually.
Oh, basically it's this movie where Jet Li, a very evil serial killer Jet Li, wants to be the one, so he travels across dimensions killing alternate versions of himself. believing himself to be like, I don't know, a god if he kills every version of Jet Li. And unfortunately, he runs into this top version of Jet Li who is basically a match. So it's Jet Li versus Jet Li. And it's like, oh, Vangasm for a Jet Li fan like myself.
Well, tough luck about that, because the position of one is already taken by Keanu Reeves, and since he's immortal, he's not giving it up anytime soon.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just to get the prerequisite Keanu Reeves joke out of the way. Whoa.
I would have also gone with one of his many silly quotes from Devil's Advocate. It's like for me, Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves together. This is going to be a glorious train wreck. You know, it's just one, and like, you know what it is? It's Al Pacino's most low-key performance ever, which is saying absolutely nothing, because, you know, that's what we like about Al Pacino.
She's got a
Great ass! And you got your head all the way up in it!
Oh man, this podcast is going to be nothing but, you know, like quotes, isn't it?
Well, let's try to avoid it. Like, how about before we go into the aspects of it, we try to address the purpose of it? Like, what would it be useful? What could it be useful for, though? Like, and what kind of piece of media would it be very useful in? Because for me, I don't like world building when it's in like a central narrative or just basically stuff that pretty much is just going to be useless towards, like endlessly describing objects that people aren't really going to care about, and where it's not going to be really. Where it basically sacrifices character for setting.
Well, all right, and I understand that we want to make the world much bigger than the character, so, you know, like to give a sense of realism. So,
well, quote unquote realism, the word that everyone uses for the word, the concept that we're always looking for, but always use the word realism for. It should be believable. You don't want a story realistic. You want it believable, to have it feel like real life.
all right,
It's indescribable, but, you know, having characters act like people would, having rules of it act in a consistent way, that sort of stuff.
Well, yeah, I've actually been thinking about that when I'm writing my, you know, other comic, Dio, The Flames of Prometheus. Basically, it's going to be pretty much like my main project after Postmodern Sherazade, which is essentially just going to be this one-shot anthology. So, essentially, in my world, basically, it's going to be like a typical two worlds thing, except the second world, which is going to be like the main setting, is in our shadows.
Ooh.
Yeah, basically, there's like a world within our shadows where living shadows actually live. So it's going to be this, you know, like magical world, this world that like makes themselves known to mankind, that it introduces them to magic, therefore it allows mankind to live their more comic book-ish fantasies. So that's when superheroes and supervillains started merging. And yeah, that's basically like the gist of the world. But of course, the, you know, like the main setting is going to be in something I call the Boghass Kingdom, which is going to be like based on Ireland, except it's going to be like way larger, like 17 cities with like a few dozen villages and all that.
Yeah, Irish influence, I dig it.
Well, yeah, Irish influence, Celtic influence, and of course I've been working on like their main exports for their economy, like food, clothes, and maybe their ability to make runes, and of course their main culture, like they're a warrior culture, except they consider you know, like fighting as high art instead of, you know, like fight, let's always fight.
Honor.
Yeah, basically. But of course they have like a much more intricate code of honor, and hell, they worship you know, like this warrior god, well, a hero god called Au.
Crom.
Yeah. Except Au's less douchey. And nobody says, to hell with you, in that one.
Ah, that's such a badass line. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
And Crom was just sitting there like, you know what, dude? I'm gonna let you live for this day and actually bring down your dead love interest to help you with this one, because I haven't had that thrown at me in a long time. I haven't seen a guy like you be awesome. Go, you know. You want vengeance? Wish granted. I'm gonna make you behead that motherfucker.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good.
Well, when you put it like that, fuck you.
Oh man, they actually did it in the, by the way, fuck you, Channel Awesome. Back when,
mention that?
back when it was good, they actually did this anniversary movie called Suburban Nights, where one of the reviewers actually dressed up like Conan the Barbarian.
Bennett the Sage.
That was Aslan. Bennett the Sage dressed up as
Oh
Aslan.
no, Benzai. That's the one I got. Benzai.
Yeah, Benzai dressed up as Conan the Barbarian, and he paraded Krong, and Krong is essentially this douchebag. He's all like, "Oh no, you're on their own," and Benzai's all like, "Then to hell with you."
Well, in that ridiculous French accent. But that's why we like Benzai. Well, that and the homoeroticism just peeling off of the guy. I like him.
That I can appreciate.
Yo, my name's Benzai. I like to kiss all the guys. Benzai.
Oh man. If I were boycotting Channel Awesome right now, by the way, fuck you, Channel Awesome, I would totally watch them.
Okay.
All right.
But like you mentioned basically the whole eating, what they eat and everything, and I thought that's a good aspect we can get to later. But in the meantime, what I want to see in world building and where I want to see it is that I want it seen in settings to help make the world feel alive. I don't want it to be put in there for the sake of world building or just basically to have a character feel like he has like an OCD disorder and has to describe everything in loving detail. And stuff that's probably not going to be all that relevant. I think a lot of people guilty of this are the people who write fanfiction on TV trope forums.
Oh boy, fucking fan fiction. I mean, I don't want to step on any fan fiction author's toes, but
Sturgeon's Law.
Yeah, Sturgeon's Law. Still,
And sometimes it can be so bad it's glorious, like My Immortal.
I still don't like fan fiction very much. It just fucking sucks. I'm sorry, people, but I'm not a huge fan of fan fiction.
It's still fine, dude. Neither am I.
Yeah, but if you actually have like a really good fan fiction, then yeah, I could definitely accept that. But it has to be really good in order to get me to like it.
Usually, a lot of the problem I have with fanfiction is that it feels really unnecessary. At this point, you might as well just make them your own original characters.
I know, right? It's like Hollywood. Oh, hey, we're gonna make a movie based on this character, except we don't want the more interesting parts. We just want him to be a handsome male with no personality so he can get together with a hot chick. Then you might as well just make it your own original movie. Yeah, but we need the name. Yeah, we're making the movie. Fuck you.
I actually thought for a second there you were actually going to give us an example of a real movie name. I'm going to be like, oh!
Oh, yeah. Trust me, want it. Yeah, that had nothing to do with, like the comic, which
I don't know. Though people, it wasn't made by Mark Millar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you basically have Captain America insulting the French, I kind of really don't care about your stories that much.
Okay, fine.
Which is why I love that joke in Next Wave Agents of Hate, where it's all like coward, spineless. Do I look like I have America written on my forehead?
Nice.
Elsa.
Oh man.
You should read that comic if you want to, because Next Wave is gloriously amazing.
I'm definitely gonna check that out, but right now I'm just busy reading Atomic Robo and watching the.
Oh, I heard Atomic Robo actually got released as a webcomic now.
Well, yeah, that's actually what I'm reading. By the way, Atomic Robo available now. AtomicRobo.com. Seriously, watch it. Also, creators of Atomic Robo, pay me some money because this ain't no free plug. Just kidding.
Okay. But yeah, we mentioned having world building. Basically, just characters always have to come first because they're basically the meat of the story. You can have this really detailed plot and setting, but it's all going to fall flat if your characters aren't all that interesting.
Well, yeah, you got to be really, really clever with world building too, so we could actually have something to do with the characters. Like, for example, now I haven't exactly read this yet. I have the comic book, but of course, I'm actually going to read it after I'm done with Atomic Robo. Court of Owls, Batman, New 52. I've actually heard that they integrated architecture into the storyline, the history, and of course, like Batman just discovering, finding it out, and of course his personal experiences with it and how he reacts. That's actually sort of like how.
I've heard good things about Court of Owls.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I wish there were more Batman stories with original villains because you know you'd only fight the Arkham Asylum has enough revolving doors as it is. Seriously, it couldn't be any more of a revolving door if they just basically made it into the main complex of the building, where basically someone just pushes the building and they just go around in a circle and then come out. It's like that joke they did in South Park where they were basically a teacher who basically had a sexual relationship with Ike, basically just tried to use alcohol as an example. So she went to rehab and then just probably left.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, man.
That was actually pretty scathing. When the police officers were going all nice, I'm like, this is like a big sick burner. These guys are being like spiteful as shit and getting away with it. I haven't seen this kind of satire since Starship Troopers, where you can just see the simmering hatred underneath though and just laugh. Anyway. But off traffic, world building, yeah, you got to make sure that the characters are nice. But you also don't have to neglect the setting, though. You need to make it feel interesting. You got to have the world feel like a real world, and that's what you mentioned. Basically, giving your people food. I mentioned one guy in a comparison between Fallout 3 and New Vegas. He brought this up. Essentially, what he brought up was he's like Fallout 3 has a lot of interesting places like Megaton. You have, it's a town built around a nuclear bomb, and, he brings up a neat idea. But then he asks, what do they eat? And he's like, well, we see them eating this junk food they found in the ruins, but that stuff's probably not going to last all that long, and it's even then not going to be all that plentiful. Though. We see Brahmin, but there's very few of them, like two of them. So, and basically he mentions also where they drink water from, because, it's all irradiated, and the only water that he really sees are from, the water around the nuclear bomb. And, he brings that up, but then he's like in New Vegas. Well, New Vegas looks awesome, but what do they eat? Oh, they actually have farms around the place that you can visit. And well, sure enough, you actually do have farms, and you can actually steal food from them. I know he brought that up, but it's all about basically making a setting feel believable and having this world feel like a world that characters can actually identify with.
Oh, yeah, but of course, to me, at least, when it comes to,
and the guy, sorry I interrupted this. Guy who did it, Mr. B-Tongue. Watch his videos. He's awesome. Just him basically discussing all these games and pretty much, and if you really hate the Mass Effect 3 endings, you'll love his analysis, where he takes a calm and analytical approach to analyzing these endings instead of just coming off as really offended like Angry Joe did.
Oh, man, as much as I love Angry Joe,
He can get a little worked up.
Yeah, I actually like him when he's much more, positive. When he's actually giving
and more funny too, though. Like when he's talking, when he's gushing about like Metal Gear Rising.
Or my favorite review of his, The Stick of Truth.
Oh, I haven't actually watched that one yet.
Long story short, South Park animations.
Yeah. Ugh. And now I'm thinking of Fully Cooley for some reason. They had a segment where they pretty much tried to replicate South Park stuff. Makes sense because to them they see South Park in Japan. They see South Park in the same way we see weird Japanese shit. They don't understand the references to celebrities, so it all comes off as weird. And since South Park's a very weird and it's random show, it comes off as an impression of liking it. Especially the last episode I remembered watching the other day, which is basically the one where Mr. Garrison tries to make his own vehicle to replace airlines because of splitting it.
I've actually just seen that one.
Yeah, I saw that episode 2 on Comedy Central, and he has the grips. Ugh.
Oh man! And speaking of positive world building, we all know the world of South Park, right? I mean,
yeah.
South Park world is very obvious. But when you actually put it into Stick of Truth, like fucking replicate it, having you be able to explore the world and delve into it, that's good world building.
Just seeing all the dumb rednecks a part of South Park and just going like, wait, do you actually get to hunt with Jimbo?
That would be awesome.
Oh, I'd love that. Hey, look at that! It's a rear animal. It's coming straight for us.
Oh yeah. They're in the game, just to spite Cartman, I chose the Jew class. Only South Park can get away with an RPG class of Jew.
What do they entail?
Oh, just a bunch of Egyptian shit like summoning scarabs and all that. I haven't played a game in a while, so my memory is a little fuzzy. But basically, with every single Jewish aspect, I'm pretty sure it's there. It's a fucking attack, except for throwing money, because you know.
Well, Kill la Kill already did that. Basically, I don't remember exactly the joke about it, but apparently because of his own currency, it can pretty much be hard enough to basically penetrate people. And he actually, and since he's so rich, he basically owns this company in Osaka. So I forget the guy's name, but he has his own goons, just basically shoot money at people and bribes everybody with money. And also, if you need to watch Kill la Kill, watch it.
Like I said, I've actually got a lot of other viewing stuff on my plate, but I am gonna watch Kill la Kill on Crunchyroll.
If you love Gurren Lagann, you'll love this.
I fucking love Gurren Lagann. I mean, Gurren Lagann is pretty much the main inspiration for my Dio, the Flames of Prometheus. I mean, basically, the titular character Dio himself is basically this Ultraman guy, except he's gonna like do everything. Like he's gonna do all the Ultraman stuff, except over exaggerated. Like
Kamina?
Yeah, like
I also love how in the series his very go-to attitude pretty much it makes him a very flawed character, and then Simon basically takes all the positive aspects about him and makes him into his own character and just basically kicks the universe's ass.
Oh hell yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
That is character development, my friends.
Oh fuck yeah, that's exactly.
And also I kind of like Gurren Lagann better than Kill la Kill. I mean, I know I'm recommending it, but I always knew that Kill la Kill's full of flaws. Like the animation quality dropping is especially a big one. I think it's one of the few animes I've ever seen where they actually have characters twine like they're in a Flash cartoon, or actually use cutouts. And you just move them across the screen like that.
Oh yeah, they did the same thing with.
I keep expecting some characters to just go, "I have to go now. My planet needs me."
Simpsons reference. They actually did the same thing with Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt. I mean,
that. But you know, they could get away with that slightly because a lot of the stuff feels really like a Flash cartoon, and you know, it has a very American style to it. It's like. Panty and Stocking is like the worst and best thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Any story that pretty much portrays sperm entering a uterus as Saving Private Ryan is at least has hard enough to put into it. I mean, as much as that heart is filled with penis jokes.
Oh man, I really gotta watch the English dub of that show.
They got rid of the English is lost in it, but instead they replaced it with tons of curse words. The Japanese director pretty much said that. It's like, we were trying to get away with it in Japan, but you know what? You guys go crazy.
Oh yeah, I still remember, you know, like that fuck you bitch.
That fucker. Whenever I hear it, it's like, you know, sometimes I have trouble. Sometimes I basically become numb to hearing English words in anime. But when they always basically have English characters, I can really tell that they're basically just got someone off the street to basically say these lines. And since you know, in Japan, English isn't a very common language, the results are the. I hope to God that if I ever go to a foreign country, I don't sound like that when I'm trying to speak their language. But it's unavoidable because, well, apparently someone thought we needed different languages in this world.
Yeah. Looks like we better get back on topic.
Anyway, world building.
Yeah, world building.
What other aspects of it do I like? I like it when they actually when they actually make everything feel like it has a purpose in it. Like, they don't just throw in elves for the sake of elves in a fantasy setting, but actually give them a history that makes them actually feel interactive with it. Like, they have a part to play in humanity's uprising, or they actually have a connection to the world. Like the elves in Lord of the Rings being closer to Earth and actually being part of Alliance of Men, you know, Undying Lands, all that stuff. And you know that they have a purpose in this world, to basically be the perfect people we wish we were, but also show that they're not exactly what we want to be. Immortality sucks.
Yes it does. Which is one of the topics that I'm going to be exploring in DL Flames of Prometheus, because, well, technically the main character is immortal. But, okay, let me get back on track. One of my favorite world-building things, there's a webcomic called Selkie, which I actually just absolutely adore. Basically, it's about fish people trying to integrate into society.
Oh, I know the Legend of the Selkie. Those mermaid slash seal girls.
Well, actually, yeah, but it actually has nothing to do with the actual legend. They actually touch on the legend a little bit because, well, the titular character, Selkie, who is like this 8-year-old little fish girl being adopted by a human father, who actually does not know the origins of her name, and, like, she decides, does she actually want to be the Selkian legend, or does she want to be, like, benevolent or something? But still, now, the best thing about, like, the world in there is, well, basically, the fish people themselves. Normally people would just go, oh, hey, I'm a fish person in the stories, but no, they actually have some flaws. There's actually some things about a civil war, which is why a lot of fish people need to, integrate into human society and all that, which is awesome. Also, Gonna Green Court. That's actually a really good webcomic. It can be a little Harry Potter-ish, but of course the whole diplomacy between magical creatures and fighting humans is just freaking... It's good. You're gonna have to read it for yourself.
Another examples of good world building are when, oftentimes I like when the world building takes a backseat, but it's still there in case people are interested. Like in Lord of the Rings or Dune, where they have appendices that pretty much explain a lot of stuff and really make the world feel alive. It's kind of why a lot of people still prefer Lord of the Rings over the Silmarillion. The Silmarillion was just a collection of notes and ideas that Tolkien had just thrown together, and it really kind of shows. Whereas Lord of the Rings felt like a consistent story. I mean, as padded as it was and a lot of flaws, it still is classic fantasy.
Oh,
and the world felt alive and really creative, so much so that almost every high fantasy story has been trying to rip it off.
Yeah.
Another thing I like, and yeah, you mentioned the fish people basically being very different and being treated as such. That's what I like about it too. When we have these different types of different classes of people or different groups, but actually have them feel very different. I remember. Like, instead of just being people with, like, forehead bumps or blue skin, you actually have them feel like different, unique people.
Yeah, plus...
And also make them feel more diverse instead of just giving them one single trait to go off of.
Oh, yeah. They actually have, like, sharp teeth, pale blue skin, they actually have gills, and, of course, they actually have problems with actually breathing in the air, like Selkie, one of her biggest issues is she can't, live in the cold too much, so which means she's got to wear a lot of heating pads, which is actually like an episode, well, not an episode, an issue. Also, she actually has to constantly flush her face in a bowl of water because of the mucus buildup in her gills and it's supposed to provide her the oxygen.
Yeah.
But still, like I said, that just makes Selkie's people much more, different because they actually have flaws just like humans.
Yeah. Oh, another aspect of world building I like. Whenever they give background events to objects that you don't really see in the story, but are given imagination to imagine, like people basically giving off the names of fictional places in a list or stuff or places that you'll never see, or historical events. Really, it's basically just this background reference, though. All right, cryptic background references, all that good stuff. What other aspects do you like?
Well, I actually just like it when a character is curious about the world, which is one of the reasons why I like Gonna Create Court. Basically, it has something to do with this little girl who is in this school.
Oh yeah, I've read a bit of it. I need to continue reading it.
Well, yeah, and of course she actually just learns a lot of things about the world, like the demons, the magical people, and of course the incident that she causes that force her to learn about the world. And
yeah, that's a good way to present world building, by having a character actually feel like they live a sheltered life or a fish out of water, and have them explore this new exciting world.
Which is actually a good, reason to, explain the world. Have someone be all like, "What's that? What's the significance of that?" Which is once again going to be in Dio Flames of Prometheus because the character is technically a fish out of water.
Yeah. And but if you do the opposite, instead have a fantasy character go into the modern setting.
Legion King, that's actually a future project that I'm working on.
Well, I was going to list bad examples like, say, Suburban Commando, Hercules in New York, Beastmaster 2.
Yeah, those are really bad examples. And that
And also quoting Spoony here, Lords of Magic.
oh fucking Christ, Lords of Magic. You know, that's the reason why I wanted to, write Legion King. I actually wanted to see if I could do it right. Like, for example,
Ulrich, go to the whore. Ulrich, go to the whore.
Oh boy.
That's one of his best running gags on that show. And way better than can't the press.
Well, personally, it may sound like a really dumb, little, joke that he always does, which is more like a quote thing. I've always loved it when he goes, "Betrayal! Betray me!"
This game sucks.
Oh man, Spoony, if you're listening, we love you, man.
Yeah. I mean, I can't love him enough. Phrasing.
You know what? I can't love him enough either. And it's exactly what you think.
Okay then. But yeah, having it, that's always a good way to make world building aspects. Make them actually feel like they're exploring, especially when you make them curious and make them explorers. You really get the feeling of wonder, though, and that's a really good way to build a universe. Show them this gratitude, all that stuff. Okay, now before we end this, how about we just list off one example we think of world building done incredibly right?
Well, I've already listed, quite a few from my part, but all right, let's check out yours.
Pick a fantasy or fictional setting in a world that feels different from ours, but it basically has enough world building in it to really feel like a really great world for endless possibilities for, say, sequels, spin-offs, or fan fiction. In the meantime, I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. I know a lot of people are probably either going to be familiar with this or basically still only hear passing references to it and know little about it, but Warhammer 40,000. I love it to death. I love its setting to death. It is one of the reasons I got interested in this game in the first place. The way they structure this universe off is wonderful. Wonderful. In addition to basically the setting takes place in this future dystopia where in the year 40,000, mankind's conquered the stars, and they're basically suffering the end of a golden age. And now they feel as if the time of humanity is coming to an end. And they're basically pulling a last stand against every nest the universe can throw at it. It's a very dark and basically very grim setting, and they actually do a great job of basically justifying why it's grim. They don't just make it grim for the sake of grim. They literally go into detail explaining how this all came to be, why the Imperium is dying, why the space elves out the Eldar are dying. They explain why the orcs are such a big problem. They explain why chaos is such a huge concern, and how it corrupted mankind. They go into everything, and if that wasn't just enough to justify the darkness of the setting, they also go into a lot of detail and leave a lot of room for improvement. Because 40K really doesn't have a central narrative, you can pretty much make stories on all these little planets and just have them basically be around adventures like, say, wars or inquisitorial hunts or anything. And even though they give a lot of rules and fluff, they still give a lot of room for people to basically make their own ideas, like their own Space Marine chapter, or their own craft world, or all kinds of other stuff. Like, do Chaos Eldar exist? It all works also wonderfully, which is why I'm so sad whenever Matt Ward, or thank God he's gone, or any other author basically does a terrible job of explaining the setting and make it feel really dull. They refuse to help develop the setting and make it feel like a real place, and basically just instead make it as an excuse to have Space Marines fight, or make their own Mary Sues. Or in case of bad writers, make everything feel dark for the sake of being dark, instead of actually going over why in the universe it should be so dark.
Christopher Nolan, DC, stop it with the darkness.
Oh, we'll get to those in the next podcast. Believe me, folks, we will.
Oh, yeah. And I guess to close things off with me, I actually just kind of like movies like Mirror Mask and Labyrinth. I'm actually a huge fan of people in this comfortable world going off in this huge-ass juxtaposition of a thing and, like, being confused by what other creatures think is normal, but, of course, she thinks it is weird, and, of course, they think she's weird. you know, like just to give a little bit of a taste. So, yeah, thank you for. Sorry about that. I had a huge brain fart. Whatever. Okay, so that's the podcast,
I'm Jack Army.
and I'm Mr.
Coreyism.
Coreyism. And see you guys next week.
Have a good one, folks.
Bye.